And ladies and gentlemen, as we draw this future-oriented roadmap for the ministry with all the institutions, it's definitely a beginning of many new beginnings for us and for the nation. So let's mark, as per our Indian traditions and customs, by lighting the ceremonial lamp. And may I request our Honorable Minister, Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman ma'am, along with our Honorable Minister of State, Shri Inderjit Singh ji, and all present here on the dais, to please light the ceremonial lamp. सरस्वती की स्तुति और वंदना के साथ आज के हमारे इस कार्यक्रम का मंगलमय शुभारंभ. And may I now request, as we open the doors to the discussions and deliberations, requesting respected Secretary, Corporate Affairs, Shri Rajesh Verma ji, for his words of welcome for everyone.
Chief Guest of the Day, Honorable Union Minister of Finance and Corporate Affairs, Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman ji. Guest of Honor, Inderjit Singh ji, Honorable Minister of State for Corporate Affairs. Dignitaries on the dais and off the dais, senior officials of the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, other ministries, regulatory bodies, heads of professional institutions, professionals, students, ladies and gentlemen. I extend my warm welcome and greetings to Honorable Union Minister for Finance and Corporate Affairs and Honorable Minister of State for Corporate Affairs for their gracious presence on this momentous day for celebrating Azadi ka Amrit Mahotsav. It is also my privilege to welcome you all to this iconic event organized by the Ministry of Corporate Affairs to celebrate the Azadi ka Amrit Mahotsav, a flagship initiative of the Government of India to commemorate 75 years of progressive India and the glorious history of its people and culture and achievements. I am happy to share that this iconic event is the culmination of joint efforts of MCA and various organizations like IPFA, CCI, IBBI, NAFRA, IICA, ICI, ICSI, Cost Accountant Institute, and many others. Since August 2021, more than 360 events have been conducted by various organizations of MCA under Azadi ka Amrit Mahotsav. And this week-long program, which started yesterday, we are having programs on every day till the 12th of June, and all the organizations, and we are organizing these programs with Jan Bhagidari across the country. During the iconic week, achievements and new initiatives of the ministry will be showcased. Various organizations of MCA are organizing these events. Corporates and entrepreneurs are also involved in organizing these events. They are the supporting pillars of the economy, and government has taken many measures towards ease of doing business for law-abiding corporates. During last 8 years, MCA has taken a number of measures to ease the compliance requirement on citizens and corporates and has taken several initiatives. While the IBC code was enacted during this period, CSR provisions also enabled corporates to act as a social responsible citizens and contributing to more than 1.2 lakh crore in these years. Various institutions have been established over the last 8 years like NFRA, NCLT, NCLAT, IPFA and IPPI. IPF Authority has organized more than 65,000 investor awareness programs in collaboration with various institutions. It has also entered an MOU with even IGNU for telecast of 75 programs as part of the year-long activity to commemorate the Azadi ka Amrit Mahotsav. Ministry was proactive to provide much-needed relief to the corporates and help revive the economy during COVID-19. I'm happy to share that MCA registered 8% more number of corporate entities during last year compared to the previous year. The increase in the number of incorporations in companies, even during the pandemic period, was a result of various initiatives like introduction of integrated form, Spice Plus, and Agile Pro for incorporation of companies, which has provided one-stop solution to promoters desirous of setting up a business entity in the country. We have taken various measures to decriminalize various provisions of the Companies Act as well as the LLP Act. MCA has been proactively taking legislative measures, keeping in view the needs and requirements of the Indian economy. The professionals and various institutions, as extended arm of the MCA, have a leading role in advising and helping businesses and making India a global leader in various sectors of the economy. We are in the process of launching various tools for compliance management, for e-adjudication, and we are looking forward to technology-driven platforms to facilitate the stakeholders. MCA, in its vision to facilitate greater ease of doing business, will continue to upgrade its process, workflow, and technology to address the needs of the stakeholders. The Amrit Kaal is going to be significant for the journey of corporate governance in India, and MCA, along with its various organizations, shall take all steps necessary to provide enabling framework to the corporates and other stakeholders to make India truly a global power. Once again, I extend my warm welcome to all of you and wish you a very happy Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for further adding the tone and context to our celebrations today. And as we now seek the guidance and advice of our distinguished guest of honor, our Honorable Minister of State for Corporate Affairs, I request Shri Inderjit Singh ji for his address.
Honorable colleague and Senior Minister, Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman ji, Secretary Corporate Affairs, Shri Rajesh Verma ji, officers of the Corporate Affairs Ministry and other ministries, regulatory bodies, professional institutions, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Rajesh Verma has just given a lowdown on the ministry as a whole and its regulatory bodies and the functions that they have undertaken over the last few years. With the permission of the chair, I would like to digress a little. We are celebrating the 75th year of our independence. In the lives of individuals, 75 years is a lifetime. Some may not even make it. And the fortunate few who do are on the decline. Whereas when you compare an individual's life with the life of a nation, 75 years is of little significance, especially for a country like ours. Long history, long tradition, respect globally over hundreds and hundreds of years. And they say history repeats itself. And if history was to repeat itself, can we, in the coming years, recapture what glory we once had? Let us say at the beginning of the Indus Valley civilization, 2000 years plus. India was a great nation. India continued to be a great nation for the following 1500 years. And if world economists, either from the World Bank or from universities across the globe, were to be believed, there was a time when India constituted 1/4 to 1/3 of the global economy. Till the 1500s. In the 1600s, when Aurangzeb was in India's Delhi throne, the yearly taxes into this gentleman's coffers was 100 million pounds. A sum which the so-called British Empire, on which the sun never set, could not achieve even 200 years afterwards, till the 18th century. And what happened in the 18th century? They found a foothold in India. And a small island nation exploited the resources of this vast country, which had all the natural phenomena that one would require for development. We had the Himalayas, which acted as a barrier, we had rainfall, we had agriculture, we had peace. And because of that, India not only survived, proliferated, and became a world economic power. Now, like I was saying earlier, 100 years in a nation's life is a very small amount of years. But because of technology, 100 years, say in 2022, cannot be compared with the 100 years in 1000 BC. Development is now going on at a geometrical space. And what we hope to achieve under the guidance of a Prime Minister and of course the Finance Minister under Mrs. Nirmala Sitharaman and all the able officers represented here, is to multiply that geometrical progression further, leapfrog those development years. We missed the Industrial Revolution, but can we leapfrog that Industrial Revolution and find our rightful place in the Committee of Nations in the next 25 years? The possibility is there. The statistics are there. The question is, are we willing to put our shoulder to the plow? For the next 25 years, can we dream and can we fulfill that dream is what the 75th year of our independence celebrations is all about. As capsulized today by this iconic week with the Government of India, not only the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, but all Government of India ministries and departments are celebrating. And just to buttress my point, I would like to put forth a few statistics. In the year 1314, when Prime Minister Narendra Bhai Modi became the Prime Minister, India growth was at 6.4%. In the year 21-22, as the latest report says, our growth, the growth of our GDP is 8.7%. The intervening 2 years, 3 years of COVID, in spite of that, we have reached a target of 8.7%, which was before we took over the reins of power in India. And when we compare ourselves with the rest of the world, who also undertook this arduous journey of fighting COVID, how have they performed and how have we performed? If we take a balance, then we realize that we are a little ahead of the rest of the world, including developing countries, except China. Well, I will not mention China because they have been able to control their population. Somehow, we still have not been able to address the population issue in the way that it should have been addressed. In the beginning of the 15th century, China was a few percentage points behind us. Today, it's a few, it's leapfrogged many percentage points ahead of us. And my personal view, of course, is that it is attributable to the large population that has come about over the last 50 years. But getting back to what I was talking about, India today is developing at 8.7%. This is the projection. By 2030, it will have progressed at 14.3. By 2040, it will have progressed at 20.8% annually. USA, in 13-14 financial year, had a growth rate of only 1.8%. In 2021, it has a growth rate of 5.7%. In another 5-6 years from now, in 2030, it will have a growth percentage of 15.3%. And in 2040, it will have a growth percentage of 13.9, which is about 6 percentage points less than India's. As things stand, the world's biggest economic power is going to the way the British Empire went, down the slide, down the chute. And India, hopefully, if we can live up to these expectations and projections, we will be at the top of the ladder. Germany, a country which has faced 2 world wars and has still built itself up. At the beginning of 2013-14, it had a growth in its economy of only 0.5%. In 21-22, they managed to achieve 7.4%. But by 2030, they will decline to 2.8%, and by 2040, they will decline even further to 2.3% of the GDP. Heartening news for Indians. Can we, now that we are on the upswing, can we maintain that momentum? And the countries that we looked up to, and I specifically wish to speak about the 400-500 years of British rule. No, not sorry, the 200 years of British rule. When the British left this country, Indian economy was growing at only 3%. When British arrived in this country in 1800, they were given on a platter a country whose GDP per annum was 24% as compared with the world economy. 24% of the world's economy was Indian. In 200 years, they exploited us to such an extent it came down to 3%. So, here's the challenge. The world is declining. The world economies are declining, except for China, who was our neighbor and maybe our antagonistic neighbor. Can we live with this reality of fighting China economically? Can we live with this expectation that the world economists have vis-a-vis India? Can we live to the expectation of the youth of our country? And can we live up to our history of 2,000 years? This is what the challenge is all about. This is what 75 years of celebration is all about. This is what technology-driven enterprises can achieve only if we were to put a mind and hearts to it. So I thank you all for having joined us today at this iconic week. And I hope that you and I together, the Government of India, Mr. Modi's guidance, and all our joint efforts will project India into the space and into the sphere that it really deserves. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much, sir, for inspiring and motivating everyone, and the huge progressive change which you see in India, and India becoming, as you said, the coming decades, in fact, belong to India, showing that so much of optimism and inspiring and motivating everyone. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we have a series of releases which are going to be dedicated to the nation at the hands of our Honorable Minister, Ma'am, Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman, Ma'am. And the very first, as a part of the celebration of the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, in association with the National Foundation for Corporate Governance, presents a short film that traces the evolution of the corporate governance in India. It also highlights the significant initiatives which has been taken by the MCA, more particularly in the last 8 years in the areas of corporate governance, so as to facilitate an ease of doing business and an ease of living for the citizens. May I request our Honorable Minister, Ma'am, Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman, Ma'am, to please launch the film entitled Journey of Corporate Governance in India, a Panorama, with a click of the remote.
As part of the celebration of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, in association with the National Foundation for Corporate Governance, presents the Journey of Corporate Governance in India, a Panorama. The framework of corporate governance in India has evolved through enactment of various acts, framing of rules and regulations based on the principles of good governance, fairness, accountability and transparency. The Indian corporate laws have evolved and transformed in the last 75 years. The Companies Act 1913 was followed by the enactment of the Companies Act 1956. The economic policies introduced in the 1990s expanded the role of the corporates in various sectors, while the economic model shifted from command and control to a facilitative and entrepreneurial approach. The government in the past has taken various measures for putting in place a robust corporate governance framework. Recommendations made by various committees like Kumar Mangalam Birla Committee, Naresh Chandra Committee, Narayana Murthy Committee, Dr. J.J. Irani Committee culminated in the enactment of the new Companies Act 2013. A number of regulatory, statutory and non-statutory bodies were established, which included the National Foundation for Corporate Governance, the Serious Fraud Investigation Office and the Indian Institute of Corporate Affairs. These steps were supplemented by complete digitization of corporate registry through first mission mode e-governance initiative in India, the MCA 21. To cater to the philosophy and needs of a liberalized economy, the erstwhile MRTP Act 1969 has been replaced with the Competition Act 2002. In 2008, the LLP Act was passed to provide a new statutory framework to conduct business. Keeping in view the ease of doing business and ease of living, significant measures have been taken in the last 8 years in the area of corporate governance. Corporate social responsibility or CSR has been mandated for a certain class of companies with effect from April 2014. In the last 7 years of implementation of CSR laws, companies have spent more than 1.20 lakh crore rupees in different activities. The dissolution of the Company Law Board led to the constitution of National Company Law Tribunal and the National Company Law Appellate Tribunal to bring Indian insolvency framework at par with global standards. The Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code 2016 was enacted. In 2016, the Investor Education and Protection Fund Authority was established to educate and protect the interest of investors and refund the unclaimed dividends and shares to the rightful claimants. National Financial Reporting Authority was set up for promoting high-quality accounting and auditing standards. With the objectives of building capacities and professionalization of independent directors, a national-level repository in the form of Independent Directors Data Bank was created in 2019. As part of digitization, the Central Registration Center was established for incorporation of companies and LLPs. Spice Plus, an integrated web form, has been launched, offering multiple services to the newly incorporated companies, thereby saving many procedures, time and cost for starting a business. to facilitate ease of doing business and ease of living to the wealth creators and declogging the courts. Various provisions of the Companies Act 2013 and LLP Act 2008 have been decriminalized in the last 3 years. During the COVID-19 pandemic, various policy measures were taken to enable the companies to function without any disruption by allowing the board and general meetings to take place through video conferencing or other audio-visual means, allowing e-voting, etc. Relaxation was also given under the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. Simplification of laws, digitization and transparency have resulted in India being seen as an attractive destination for investments and doing business. The aim and resolve now is to become the global leader in corporate governance through involvement and partnership with all stakeholders when India celebrates her 100 years of independence in the year 2047.
So that's the accomplishing journey of the Ministry of Corporate Affairs with all of you. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we have the release of the investor oath, which is now going to be seen and witnessed by the present and the prospective investors, by all of you present here, and also those joining us virtually at 75 locations pan-India. This oath inculcates and instills a spirit of being responsible investors and contributing to nation building. May I once again request our Honorable Minister Ma'am, Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman Ma'am, to please release the investor oath with the click of the remote.
आगे बढ़ता रहे हमारा देश, इसके लिए संकल्पित है भारत सरकार। इन्वेस्टर एजुकेशन एंड प्रोटेक्शन फंड अथॉरिटी मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ कॉर्पोरेट अफेयर्स के प्रयासों से जुड़े और उन प्रयासों को करें साकार। आइए ले संकल्प ताकि एक सुदृढ़, सुरक्षित और सशक्त राष्ट्र ले सके आकार।
हम संकल्प लेते हैं कि हम जागृत निवेशक बनकर अपनी और देश की वित्तीय स्थिति को सशक्त कर
भ्रामक विज्ञापनों से आकर्षित नहीं होंगे और योजना से संबंधित सभी जानकारियों को ध्यान से पढ़ेंगे और गैर कानूनी पाए जाने पर उनकी सही स्तर पर शिकायत करेंगे।
किसी अनजान स्रोत से मिलने वाली जानकारियों एवं सलाहों के आधार पर वित्तीय जोखिम नहीं लेंगे, बल्कि अपनी कुशलता और निवेश का ज्ञान बढ़ाएंगे।
निवेशक को मिले खुशहाली, सुरक्षित हो हर निवेश, बढ़ती रहे जन भागीदारी, यही है भारत सरकार का संदेश।
That's the sankalp, the commitment coming from everyone. And we now have the release of my stamp on financial literacy and investor awareness. May I request Shri Ashok Kumar, Postmaster General Operations, to kindly present the first copy of the album of my stamp to the Honorable Minister Ma'am, Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman Ma'am, for the release. Ladies and gentlemen, with the very objective to make respective stakeholders understand about IEPFA, its mandate, its initiative for public interest, and the roadmap ahead for investors' awareness. This is the stamp of ₹5 being issued, carrying the very message of inclusive financial literacy, as well as reiterating the IEPFA's mandate. And IEPFA is also coming up with a very unique initiative for the senior citizens aged 75 and above. That's a special window facility for the senior citizens in which a senior citizen can avail the facility of auto-prioritizing through the MCA 21 portal while filing their refund or claim settlement. Once again requesting Honorable Minister Ma'am to please launch this special window for the senior citizens with the click of the remote.
भारतीय संस्कृति ने हमेशा हमें बड़ों का सम्मान करना सिखाया है। भारत सरकार भी वरिष्ठ नागरिकों के लिए लगातार नई से नई सेवाएं और अवसर ला रही है। इसी कड़ी में निवेशक शिक्षा और संरक्षण कोष ने 75 वर्ष एवं उससे अधिक उम्र वाले सभी निवेशकों के लिए स्पेशल सेवा की शुरुआत की है। IEPF समय समय पर देश के विभिन्न राज्यों में कॉन्फ्रेंस के माध्यम से SMS सर्विस द्वारा अखबारों में संदेश देकर अपने सोशल मीडिया हैंडल्स पर एवं टीवी और रेडियो के माध्यम से वरिष्ठ नागरिकों को सही निवेश और फ्रॉड स्कीम से अपना धन बचाने की जानकारी दे रहा है। इसके अलावा उनकी सुविधा के लिए निवेश की सही जानकारी और क्लेम का स्टेटस जानने के लिए एक ऐप भी लॉन्च किया है।
क्या कर रहे हो पापा?
कुछ नहीं, ऐसे ही छोटा सा काम कर रहा हूँ।
कौन सा काम पापा?
मेरे कुछ शेयर सर्टिफिकेट्स हैं, उनका क्लेम लेना है, तो उन्हीं का फॉर्म भर रहा हूँ।
लेकिन पापा, क्या इसके लिए फिजिकल डॉक्यूमेंट भी जमा करने होंगे?
किस जमाने में जी रहे हो बेटा? ये डिजिटल इंडिया है, सब काम ऑनलाइन होता है। और अपना इन्वेस्टर एजुकेशन एंड प्रोटेक्शन फंड अथॉरिटी भी डिजिटल हो गया है। और यही नहीं, 75 वर्ष के सभी निवेशकों के लिए एक हेल्पलाइन नंबर भी जारी किया गया है, जिससे घर बैठे बैठे आप अपने क्लेम का फॉर्म आसानी से भर सकते हैं।
दादाजी, क्या मैं भी आपके साथ कर लूं? हो गया।
निवेशक शिक्षित तो निवेश सुरक्षित।
So that, ladies and gentlemen, are our confident and very empowered senior citizens with this special window. And we now have the launch of the National CSR Exchange Portal. This is a digital initiative on CSR by the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. The portal will facilitate matchmaking and bridge demand-supply gap by providing an interactive platform to all stakeholders. It also will enable the stakeholders to list, to search, to interact, to engage, and manage their CSR projects on a voluntary basis. Once again requesting the Honorable Minister Ma'am to please launch the National CSR Exchange Portal with a click of the remote.
National CSR Exchange Portal is being launched today. Government of India initiated one of the world's largest experiment of introducing the CSR as a mandatory provision in the Companies Act 2013. By imposing statutory obligation on companies to take up CSR projects, the philosophy of CSR is to engage corporates as partners in social development by leveraging their managerial efficiency, best practices, technology, and innovation in the delivery of public good and services. Since the enactment of the CSR provision with effect from April 2014, companies have spent more than 1,20,000 crore rupees in different activities of national priorities. During the evolution of CSR in India, need for seamless interaction between companies and implementing agencies has been felt. National CSR Exchange Portal is an endeavor that will serve as an interactive and exchange platform hosting all India projects. The platform will onboard all stakeholders in the CSR ecosystem, such as corporates, implementing agencies as registered users. National CSR Exchange Portal will provide user-friendly environment, interactive mechanism, advanced visual analytics, project lifecycle management, data exploration, knowledge center, notifications, advanced search mechanism. Launch of the exchange portal will facilitate for more effective sustainable development in the country by helping optimize the funds mobilization and utilization, execution and project management. Now let's see how it works. Both companies and implementing agencies will have their separate dashboards. Companies can float RFPs for their CSR projects. Implementing agencies can apply to RFPs with their proposals and can also share their own project plans to companies. On meeting mutual requirements through exchange, the project could be initiated for implementation. The portal would also facilitate bringing together diverse think tanks, contributors and implementers under one platform, sharing ideas, strategies and information. by taking a smart step in implementing CSR initiatives. The Ministry of Corporate Affairs launches National CSR Exchange Portal. Log on to www.csrexchange.gov.in.
This portal, ladies and gentlemen, is a testimony to the very idea that technology empowers the less empowered. And may I now request the Honorable Minister, ma'am, to kindly release the publication on the theme, Insolvency Now and Beyond. This has been prepared by the Insolvency and the Bankruptcy Board of India and the Foreign Commonwealth Development Office, UK, for the benefit of stakeholders of IBC ecosystem in India. This publication, ladies and gentlemen, is a compilation covering UK experiences and best practices on the emerging areas and also the issues under the insolvency ecosystem in India. The papers in the publication have been authored by prominent experts from various jurisdictions, including India, UK, and Singapore. Ladies and gentlemen, IBBI, in collaboration with mygov.in and BSE Investors Protection Fund, had conducted the third national online quiz on Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code 2016. This was towards promoting greater awareness and sensitizing and understanding of the code among the various stakeholders across the country. The quiz received very overwhelming response, participation from more than 71,000 participants from a wide range of stakeholders, including the students, professionals, employees, representing various states and union territories of the country. And we now have the prize distribution ceremony towards this national online quiz competition on IBC 2016. As I invite the winners here on the stage, may I request our distinguished dignitaries, honorable ministers, and all the dignitaries to please step forward in honoring our winners today. So there are three awards or prizes which are going to be presented here. And we are going to be starting with the bronze, going bottoms up. So the second runners-up, ladies and gentlemen, is Pankaj Ninwani, who's conferred with the bronze medal, along with a cash prize of 25,000 rupees. And so there's a medal, the bronze medal, and also the prize money of rupees 25,000 rupees. And now the first runner-up. The first runner-up, ladies and gentlemen, is Kishan Verma, honored with a silver medal and a cash prize of 50,000 rupees. He's not been able to join for some reasons, but we have Shri Raghav Maheshwari joining us here on the stage to accept the award on behalf of Kishan Verma, the first runners-up, conferred with a silver medal and a cash prize of 50,000 rupees. And now, ladies and gentlemen, all the bling with the gold medal conferred on Dipali Mamodia. She's been presented a gold medal along with a cash prize of 1 lakh rupees. So this was a national online quiz which was organized on Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code 2016, and the three winners, the best of the best three winners being recognized here. May I also request now our Honorable Minister Ma'am to please release the ebook, a compendium on CSR with the click of the remote. Can we have? So that's the ebook, ladies and gentlemen, for the benefit of stakeholders and ease of accessing the information. The Ministry of Corporate Affairs has compiled all the existing knowledge resources on CSR, that is the CSR provisions of the Companies Act 2013, the company's CSR policy rules, Schedule 7 of the Act, various clarifications and the facts issued by the Ministry. It also captures the data on CS expenditure in aspirational districts, all being compiled into a single source and prepared in the form of this ebook compendium on CSR. So thank you to our Honorable Minister Ma'am for releasing these various publications and the other launches, and also for honoring the quiz winners. Thank you. And now, ladies and gentlemen, as all of us are eagerly awaiting to be guided and to be led by our Honorable Minister, may I request Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman Ma'am, the Honorable Finance and the Corporate Affairs Minister, to please address the august gathering.
Namaskar. Shri Rajesh Verma, Secretary of MCA, Sanjay Kumarji, Additional Secretary and the Financial Advisor, Shri Ashok Kumarji, Postmaster General of India, and all heads of the regulatory bodies, institutions which impart education on various corporate-related subjects, officials, invited guests, and the media. Today we are here following up on the inauguration which the Honorable Prime Minister did yesterday, both for the Ministry of Finance and also for the Corporate Affairs, which during this week will be celebrating the Azadi ka Amrit Mahotsav. In other words, taking the opportunity to be able to communicate with the people of India as to how this journey of 75 years has been, what role that the ministry has played in the lives of Indian citizens for the 75 years, and also putting before ourselves what the next 25 years are going to be when India reaches the 100th year of India's independence. So actually speaking, this is a very important phase in free India's life, where government comes before its citizens, even as it marks 75 full years of its independence, to say what these 75 years have been in governance, in being accountable, and in being responsible towards making the lives of citizens better. So, Honorable Prime Minister had started this Azadi ka Amrit Mahotsav in 2021 in March, when he participated in the Salt Satyagraha once again in Dandi. And from then, 75 weeks up to August 2022, will be part of the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. However, of course, even after August this year, till August 2023, Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav will be continuing so that we are able to do so many different things. Recall the sacrifices made by the freedom fighters. Who were they? Which regions they belonged to? What kind of sacrifices they did? Does this younger generation have the same opportunity to know and appreciate them? As much as also saying what kind of challenges this country has faced from 1947 till today, and despite all those challenges, have reached where we have reached today, and where we have reached today, I'm sure all of you all will agree, subject to some conditions, that it is something about which Indian citizens can feel happy and proud about, that despite all the differences, despite all the challenges, despite all future problems that we may have to overcome, we together as a country, center and states, people from all different regions, have, as a democracy with all the rights intact for individuals, have pulled along to reach where we are today, and therefore it is important for us to pause for a minute and look back and see what these achievements have given us, or the challenges that they've posed us, and how to take us forward in the next 25 years. Whilst I'll be part of Corporate Affairs Ministry and also the various departments in the Finance Ministry, I think the Corporate Affairs Ministry is uniquely placed in dealing with this Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. It is uniquely placed because it's a regulatory ministry. It has under it so many very critical, very important regulatory bodies. And as we saw in that picture which was shown about MCA and its contribution in the last 75 years in its various different avatars, it clearly shows, though it's a regulatory ministry largely, how it has impacted the lives of common Indians, be they in small business or a part of a larger business or even a small investor. How during these 75 years, catching up with what's developing, the ministry has evolved the various instruments through which it relates to the common Indian citizen. The various laws that it had to revisit and change and keep it up to date are all very clearly shown in that very crisply made film. But I would certainly say that while the rest of the departments of Finance Ministry also have their own complex relationship with the citizens of India, Ministry of Corporate Affairs is certainly uniquely placed while facilitating even as it is regulating. The two examples I can take right up front are the ways in which the Companies Act and also the IBC, in order to keep itself robust, time-relevant and nimble, have continuously kept responding to the need of the hour, need of the day, and the global best practices, and therefore didn't fight shy of going to the Parliament any number of times with amendments. And therefore, I would think the Corporate Affairs Ministry has so much more to talk about and to relate and, in fact, directly or indirectly inform the public about the ways in which this Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav can tell us where we are and take the feedback of where we have to go and how we have to go in order to reach 2047. I'm sure the institutes, the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, Institute of Cost Accounts of India, and Institute of Company Secretaries are very potent bridges for and through their students, through their practitioners, through their certified members, to communicate this to the people of India and be able to also get the inputs from them to see how this ministry can take it forward further. For my part and for the part of the Government of India, I can say, whilst every decade had its own significant contribution, particularly after 2021 budget, I think the nature of the economy, whether it is thankfully to the COVID, which was a challenge, but that challenge, I'm glad to say that the ministry literally kept itself on its toes, that it could come up with so many different quick-footed steps that even during the lockdown or during the pandemic, people of India could go about their normal businesses, particularly those in small companies, could go about their normal businesses without having to worry if compliances are going to be challenged, if compliances are not going to be kept up, purely because they're all under a lockdown. But on the contrary, what we find, and I'm sure the data is available for all of us to know and validate, if we observe that contrary to the fears and suspicion, India set pioneering steps forward in enabling companies to keep fulfilling the compliance norms by opening it up to be digital, allowing video conferencing, keeping on, technology-driven answers when you really couldn't meet in person. So I must say that a department like Company Affairs was very imaginative enough to come up with technology-driven solutions and make the lives of Indians, companies, small investors, and certifying bodies, and small chartered accountants who were in their own local areas doing their businesses far easier to do their compliance and regulatory performances without worrying, because technology was available and handy. Now, if that was the case from 2020, 21 and 21, the budget of 22, in fact, looks forward for the Amrit Kal, for the next 25 years. And in that too, I'm sure the Corporate Affairs Ministry will be able to take forward quite a few of their forward-looking and out-of-box thinking steps. And I would say, if each of the earlier decades had its own character, the decade of 2020 upwards to 2030 or even further is so distinctly infused with digital methods. No wonder, therefore, in the budget of 2022-23, we had so many announcements, all of which are digital, whether digital currency, digital university, digital banking, and looking at ways in which we can further strengthen digital payments. Therefore, I would think this decade for the MCA, adapting to the digitized performances, which is going to make our lives easier, is going to be one big challenge. And I'm glad I saw the presentations this morning of the various agencies, which are largely regulatory, the Competition Commission of India, the NFRA, the National Financial Reporting Authority. You can clearly see all of them are seized of the fact that the world is moving towards greater digitization, and in that, India leads by having come up with the India stack, with which a lot of our functions are happening digitally. So the impact of this digitization is certainly going to have an impact on the markets. And if it has an impact on the markets, obviously the Competition Commission or the National Financial Reporting Authority will all have to be ahead of the curve to see where the regulations will have to fall in place, where the regulations should be soft touch, where the regulations will have to be deterrent strong enough. And therefore, I think this feature that the next 25 years will be digital and driven by digital considerations, because that's become now a habit, good habit, easy habit. We need to have agencies ready to be able to gauge what that is going to do to fair, accountable, and transparent practices. And therefore, I would seek to draw the attention of all the regulatory bodies to be seized of this fact that this is now going to pervade all aspects of our society. We cannot be behind the curve. The regulators will have to understand at what level and with what effect you need to come in. And you have to be well advanced in understanding the situation rather than be caught unawares. This also, of course, gives the challenge of digital, the black dark world, which can do things in the digital arena, which can itself be a big threat. So it's very well for the regulators, it's very well for the institutes, it's very well for those who are coming out of these institutes to benefit from the digitized era. But we also need a strong manpower, which is going to be constantly looking at ways in which they can evolve the firewall mechanisms which are so required to safeguard the digital enabling platforms, the digital world that we have created for our convenience now. And the convenience has been tasted by every Indian citizen, in the smallest in the villages or even the most sophisticated in institutions. Now, every institution, therefore, I would think, will have to equally give attention to experts who will have to be with you on a constant basis, understanding the challenges where they come from, and strengthen and make robust your firewall mechanisms. Or else that which made our lives easy, that which is making our lives continuously easy, can itself become the biggest handicap if we are not able to prevent any unforeseen disaster that can be in the name of a hacker or a person who can misuse this technology, which is today so full of promise, but it shouldn't become a deterrent. Now, there are just two things that I'd like to draw the attention of the August gathering here today. During the pandemic, the MCA did perform, as I said, its roles with a lot more future-looking approach, and also understanding that that's an opportunity for us in reducing government's presence and maximizing on governance. So I think with all that, it didn't become a deterrent or a handicap. It didn't become a deterrent or a handicap, but it actually enabled people during the pandemic, is proven by the statistic before me. I'd like to share that with you. During the financial year 21-22, MCA registered more than 1.67 lakh company incorporations. And if you compare that with the earlier year, 2020-21, when it was only 1.55 lakhs. So if 1.67 lakh companies got incorporated during the year 21-22, it shows that the mechanism through which they are registering are, one, easy, two, also that the ground is not deterred by or challenged by or made difficult by the pandemic. Equally, the kind of steps which were taken by the MCA, who were transforming the regulatory environment, are worth recalling. There was a revision of the definition of small companies, which has reduced compliance burden to about 2 lakh companies. This happened during the pandemic, and I would want to put it on record here for us to know that a ministry like Corporate Affairs was actually on its toes, making sure that during the lockdown, companies are not put to difficulty. So a definitional change also happened at that time. Then there was zero MCA fees being collected for company incorporations up to 15 lakh rupees of authorized capital. 0 MCA fees. Then there were incentivization of incorporation of one-person companies, the OPCs. Incentives were provided. This happened during the pandemic. So if we are looking at the ways in which in 75 years, the Ministry of Corporate Affairs responded to the growing needs of the free India, but the challenging period of the pandemic also kept them very related to the ground and responding to the needs of the ground. So incentivizing one-person companies. Very important, and an effort which shall continue, is the decriminalization of technical and procedural violations. Decriminalize them under the Companies Act 2013 and also under the Limited Liability Partnership Act of 2008. That, I think, is a very important step taken, particularly during the pandemic. The time given, time for consultation, all taken on board. Decriminalization actually is something which the Prime Minister has been very keen on, because his message has been, trust your businesses. Give them that confidence that government is looking at them favorably, because we want them to do their business without worry and prosper. It is that which is going to help India to move forward, not if you're suspecting them in every measure, every step. And therefore, decriminalization is something which the Honorable Prime Minister has been insisting. And I'm glad during this pandemic, the time was effectively utilized by MCA to remove those clauses or amend those clauses, which brings in that element of criminalization. Also, I probably mentioned it earlier, that during the pandemic, just so the companies can continue with the general body meetings, video conferencing was allowed for board meetings, for EGMs and for AGMs. Now, if this was done, equally, the NCLT, the Company Law Tribunal, enabled e-filing mandatory at all its benches across the country under the e-court initiative. Even this was done by the NCLT. I would very quickly like to put on record and also compile the reforms and initiatives which have been taken by the other organizations, all of which come under the MCA, whether it is the IEPF, the Investor Education Protection Fund Authority, which have been very effectively shown in the film. They have simplified many of those processes through rationalization of various requirements for it. Similarly, they've already said that 62,000 investor awareness programs have been held by IEPF. In a way, I would think, quietly, these have helped during the pandemic, the very significant increase in retail investor numbers in India. In fact, there are times when I've answered, even in the parliament, that if FPIs are going away and coming into the country as and when, and giving us a feeling that funds are going out of India, retail investors in India have come in a big way that they seem to act like the shock observers. If FPIs went away, FIIs went away, our markets did not really have to show the ups and downs in a very distinct way, because the small investors in the country have come in a big way, trickling into the country. And that is one of, I would think, in the 75th year for us to be able to say that Indian investors, the small and the big and everybody, are coming into the market and coming in with greater awareness being given by institutions like IEPF. I'm very happy, and I would think that brings the benchmark a bit higher for IEPF itself, because the next 25 years you have even better to perform and improve your own standards. So 62,000 investor awareness programs have not gone without being noticed and without having a concrete outcome. So I'm glad for that. The Institute of Corporate Affairs plays a significant role also in supporting organizational reform and in capacity building, also under the MCA. So I think the Amrit Kal, we have quite a few number of institutions under the MCA who are going to have to build a lot of information platforms and get in touch with citizens of India to say what you're up to. IACA, the Corporate Affairs Institute, also has done a policy advisory function which has helped us to, be able to change the IBC, deliver on very many of these corporate social responsibility related matters. I can see the members of IICA seated there. Your role is very significant and you have to keep performing much more there. I think also because today the public outreach and the research and study with the stakeholders on board is one big step that the IICA has taken, and I think that will definitely make a big difference. You should continue on that. Similar such role, and for a body which is fairly new, is being performed by the Competition Commission of India. The CCI has made a major contribution, and I'm very proud of this institution in being able to burst cartels, not allowing cartels to be formed, making their presence felt but not really becoming an obstruction. So bursting cartels, controlling mergers in a very soft but significant way, giving consumer the necessary protection, making sure that the markets feel that they are being remotely but silently being controlled, in the sense understanding the market and allowing it to function in a free and fair manner but without interfering in their function. And also enabling new age markets, international cooperation, and so on. I honestly think the Competition Commission of India, when of course I'm in their private audience, in the sense when I attend their CCI programs, I keep telling them, you've not done enough, you've not done any number of suo motu studies, you've not picked up on certain things which are very critical for India, your presence will have to be there, felt by everybody, and so on. But for a minute, let me imagine that this road doesn't exist, nobody's here. They are actually doing a significant job in making sure India's free market is fair market, and making sure in an era when mergers and acquisitions are going to happen in a very big way, mergers and acquisitions are happening in India in a big way, the CCI is remaining like a shadow but without affecting functionalities. So I wish the CCA in the next 25 years also makes sure that a modern India, digitized India, a corporate India, an India where retail investors want that support, CCI will stand up to the challenge and meet the expectations of the Indian citizen. A recent, but I'm treading on a bit of a sensitive area. Like in the Western world, they would say you're treading on a minefield, but I'm not treading on a minefield, but an institution which has yet to make a very big beginning, but has a role to play, is the National Financial Reporting Authority. I think they have a big role in that they are looking at listed companies, they are looking at not so listed companies, but of a certain stature. They're also looking at firms, and they should also expect that the government will also come up with requests on certain companies on which I would want them to understand the significance as our institutions abroad. And this morning I heard the chair of NAFRA telling me, I don't know, there is also hesitation in using the word NAFRA. It's nothing to do with Nafrat. It is National Financial Reporting Authority, which has a very big role to play. Is the size of the job, the audience that they are dealing with, the companies that they are looking at, and the stakeholders who they are going to have to address. I'm being told by the chair, is comparable exactly with their counterpart in the United States of America. But they are recent, they are in the US fairly old body. But NFRA is again a body which has to do quite a lot of work. And I understand you have issued financial reporting quality review reports. You've also had 4 audit quality review reports, and you're also now looking at recommending amendments to various rules and regulations. I wish the body all success. You also have to catch up with a lot of work which is now before you, and I hope in the next 25 years this body also will stand up and meet the demands and expectations of the people of India. Very quickly on the National Foundation for Corporate Governance, definitely you're trying to have a lot of voluntary adoption of good corporate governance practices. I wish all the very best even for the corporate governance body. So for the next 25 years, not just this week, this gives us an opportunity for us to be able to speak about our achievements, but more to think in terms of a futuristic, visionary, for a fresh new India which is so bubbling with the youth, all of whom want to be in this country but receive the best of global practices in terms of running their companies, in terms of meeting with expectations of people who give them equity fund or people who are providing debt funds. We need to have government and government's policy giving them that little hand-holding rather than being a tough regulator. So I'm in the midst of a ministry, institutions, and regulators, all of whom are strong regulators. But your profile itself will have to be of a facilitator. Your profile will also have to be those who are showing the light on the path in which this country will have to go, so that the youth of India will not just be looking for jobs, but will be creating jobs and delivering on innovative ways of living our lives. So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity, and I wish all of you all the very best for the next 25 years. Jai Hind.
Thank you so very much, Honorable Minister Ma'am, as our leader, complimenting everyone here, all the institutions, for the good work done by them during the COVID, and also guiding and leading everyone on the very prominent and significant role which everyone has with technology at the core of all transformations towards making India globally competitive, India which is looked up to, India which is a global leader in all respects and where there is a good quality of life for its people. Thank you, Honorable Minister Ma'am, for guiding us. And ladies and gentlemen, as we conclude this inaugural session, a very important session, may I now request Shri Sanjay Kumar, the Additional Secretary and Financial Advisor, Ministry of Corporate Affairs, to please propose a formal vote of thanks.
Honorable Minister of Corporate Affairs and Ministry of Finance, Shrimati Nirmala Sitharaman ji, our guest of honor, Shri Inderjit Singh ji, Secretary, Minister of Corporate Affairs, heads of various regulatory bodies and other organizations, all senior officials, dignitaries, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, I would like to offer my sincere gratitude to Ma'am, Honorable Minister, on behalf of the entire MCA family, Minister of Corporate Affairs family, for sparing time to attend this iconic day and making it truly iconic. Ma'am, we can't sincerely thank you enough for sparing your valuable time and motivating us with your gracious presence and by your truly inspirational speech, ma'am, emphasizing on good governance, backed by technology and more transparency. Ma'am, you have kindly mentioned some of the good works done, some of the achievements made during last 2-3 years. All this has been possible with your kind guidance and encouragement only, ma'am. This ministry, as you mentioned, is uniquely placed And we have already, as you mentioned, we have made good contribution to the building of country's economy. And we will ensure that we attain further glory with your kind guidance and your leadership, ma'am. I'll also like to thank our guest of honor, Shri Inderjit Singh ji, for his mentorship and valuable guidance and support throughout the preparations, especially for the very inspiring thoughts how in the next 20-25 years, backed by solid and concrete statistics, how we can really go back, achieve our old glory. Really thanks to you, sir. On behalf of the ministry, I'd like to thank Shri Rajesh Verma for his constant and all-along support, guidance and direction for all these works which we are doing. I'd also like to offer my sincere gratitude to all the dignitaries, all the guests and invited panelists for the upcoming technical and plenary sessions, for accepting our invitation and adding value to this iconic ceremony. Ma'am, we would like to thank you for releasing short film on corporate governance, commemorative postal stamp on investor awareness, investor oath, ebook on CSR compendium, publication on IBC, launching of the CSR exchange portal, and special window facility for the senior citizens, which will go a long way in easing the way we conduct our business and understand the financial world, and also presenting awards to the winners of the National Online Quiz. Last but not the least, I would like to thank Shri Manoj Pandeji, our Joint Secretary, and each and every staff and member, distinguished guests, officials, professionals, students, ladies and gentlemen, whose sincere and tireless efforts and participation has made it possible to make this event a grand success. Thank you, everyone. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we conclude the inaugural session, thanking once again our honorable ministers and all the dignitaries here on the dais, all present in this August gathering also, and also those joining us virtually across 75 locations in the country. May I request you all to remain at your respective seats, for we are going to be moving into our next session, the first technical session. Yes, please allow us just another 5 to 10 minutes. Probably we can have a small stretching break and a bio break, and then 10 minutes, 12:20, we'll start with our technical session. The first technical session, you can be seated by 12:15, so that we are in time for our technical sessions. 5 technical sessions we have today, 1 pre-lunch, 4 post-lunch, and we are going to be concluding the day with the plenary session at the end. So just 10 minutes of short break. There is no tea, but yes, stretching break. And if I can just request the stage to be set for the next session, please. Thank you.